Thank you everyone for coming. This is great. We have everybody in the house, not everybody we want to be here, and this is great. Thank you all for coming. And welcome to the 2024 McCormack Graduate School Centers and Institutes Seminar Series. This is an annual event that we ask 2 or 3 center directors and chairs of the programs in MGS to present updates about this. To introduce myself, my name is Adunya Lemmi. I'm the interim director of the McCormack Graduate School. This is what my 7th or 8th month in my role here, and it's great working with all of you. I'm happy to be here. McCormack Graduate School has 6 centers and 2 plus 3, about 3 endowed chair or professorship within MGS. All of them work in the area of socio-economic, socio-political policy issues that affect local, regional, and international aspects that covers all these areas. And those topics are in line with the mission and the values of McCormack Graduate School, and that's why we want to encourage the center's activity, encourage the professorship activities, and anything that they address in terms of touching topics that touch not only the McCormack Graduate School mission, but also the university's mission. Out of the 6 centers, today we hear from 2 of them. Initially, the plan was to hear from 3 of them, but because of conflict in timing, we had to postpone 1 of them. We have Center for Social Policy. We have Dr. Susan Crandall, the director of the center. We'll hear from her. And then we have also a Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development. The executive director is Dr. Darren Hugh. He's a professor of conflict resolution at the Department of Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance. The third scheduled center was Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy. We had to postpone that because of conflict in timing. Okay, the 2 centers will give us updates on their current activities, current projects, future projects, and any challenges they face, and future plans and prospects that they have for their respective centers. I'll give the floor first to Dr. Susan Crandall, who is the director of the Center for Social Policy. Susan will have 20 minutes to present updates, challenges, and plans for the future. And we'll follow that up with 5 to 10 minutes of question and answer. After that, I'll give the floor to Dr. Q, who is the executive director of the Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development. With that, I don't take any much time. I'll pass on to Susan. Can we start it?
Thank you so much, Adunya, and appreciate this opportunity. And it's great to see everyone here today. I will go ahead and pull up my slides. I think I will be able to do that. So I'm gonna try that.
Yep. Yep, that works.
Okay. Can everyone see my slides? Okay, perfect. So again, my name is Susan Crandall. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet, the director of the Center for Social Policy and also a clinical professor in the Department of Public Policy. And so just want to give you, as Adunya mentioned, sort of a little bit of an overview of the Center for Social Policy, talk about some current projects, then some next step and future projects, as well as just, sort of flag a few ongoing issues and challenges. So the Center for Social Policy, we're an applied interdisciplinary research center. And our focus is really to research and deeply examine the root causes of economic hardship, and think about that, especially in terms of the combined impact of public policies and employer practices, and really develop policy and programmatic solutions to boost equity and overall well-being. So we are a qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods shop with a very strong focus on community engagement and participant voice. In terms of the types of projects that we do, we do a lot in terms of program evaluation for community partners. I'll have a few examples for you. We also do applied research, oftentimes using secondary data. We are frequently called in to do strategic planning and help with program design for nonprofits or for collaboratives of nonprofits and other municipalities. And then sometimes we're asked to develop tools and guides, and that might be in a technological format, like we've done some calculators for the cliff effect, looking at public benefits and employment. Other times it's more online, or what used to be paper-based is more to, just the sort of resource guides, in other words. And so now, in terms of who our team is, and I just realized as I was just about to start talking, and I forgot an important group here, so I just want to call that out. So we have a very small team. It's myself as director, and then our long-term and exceptional research director, Dr. Françoise Carré. We are, very much rely on students to perform the work and have an opportunity to gain experience working in the Center for Social Policy and interacting with our community-based clients. So we typically work with graduate students, but we've also worked with undergraduates as well. And just want to welcome anyone here as representing the College of Liberal Arts in particular, because we're really eager and enthusiastic to work with undergraduates as well. Also, I forgot, so apologize, especially for those of you who are affiliate faculty with the center. We frequently work with faculty. Oftentimes that's in the Department of Public Policy. I saw Professor Michael Johnson is here, so thank you to Michael Johnson for all the work he does with and for the center. But we've also had, faculty that we work with. We're currently working with a professor of economics, Marlene Kim. We've worked with many other professors of economics, and then others around the university. And so we also very frequently partner with other centers and institutes, and that includes centers and institutes within McCormick, but also across the university. It's very common for us to be working in partnership. We also are very grateful for the support and assistance from now CLA and also MGS staff, in terms of, helping us meet, our many sort of operational and financial and grant related needs. So again, like I said, we're very small, so we don't have, an operations or a financial person within the center, and instead are grateful for the support we get from CLA and MGS staff, and then also from others. And some, I know, see some of you here. So from University Advancement has been a wonderful partner for us, as well as ORSP and the Central Business Unit. In terms of how we do our work, again, we are primarily grant funded. We only get a very small amount of our funding from the state line. And so we rely on philanthropy, so from foundations. Our projects are also sponsored by local, state, and federal government sources, in addition to nonprofits that we work with, or sometimes it's, collaborations or of nonprofits. Sometimes we work directly with employers. We have an example of that now. We also have rely on gifts and donations. In particular, our Werby Fund, that UA does a wonderful job. A shout out to Allison and Vanessa for all of your help with the Werby Fund, and that's our Werby internship program. And then we also have internal funding sources as well. So, for example, I'm grateful for funding through the Oceans Endowment that Adunya and previous dean Kiki Dozie has provided for us, and then we have, sometimes get additional fundings through the DOFR or or other sources. So I'll keep going. I know we're doing questions at the end. I feel like I'm just doing all the talking, but so hopefully folks are following along. So I'll look forward to questions. So here are some of our current and our ongoing projects. We just actually are just wrapping up a project on the analysis of racial disparities for SNAP access for Asian Americans. That was actually funded through the Institute for Asian American Studies, and we'll be presenting that at an upcoming Barry conference. Some of you may have seen a press release for the evaluation of the City of Somerville Universal Basic Income project that is focused on housing unstable families. That's a project that we have in partnerships with the Collins Center. We're very excited. We're just in the process of getting that to launch. So shout out to Meg Hassey, who's been one of our incredible students, research associates working on that project. Research director, Dr. Francoise Carré, has long been a leader in the informal workforce, and that's funded through WIGO. Women in Informal Employment Global Organization, I think is what that stands for. And so she's a leader in that work, has won numerous awards, published several books, and edited. We are working on an evaluation of a local community-based organization. It's actually a new community cooperative, so that they're an employer, but they're in a cooperative format. And so shout out to our graduate assistant, Amrith Fernandez Prabhu, who's one of the leads on that project. We're very excited about that in terms of its impact in the local community, with a strong focus on helping making local quality food accessible for that community, and sort of solving issues of food insecurity. And then we've had a long-term project where we've been doing a content analysis of equitable workforce development for offshore wind. So again, I'm grateful for the support of the Oceans Endowment that has funded that work for the last few years. And so we are, that's actually also a partnership with the Center for Governance and Sustainability, Professor Stacy Vandeveer, and we are near ready to get that out for publication. Excited about that. So some of our kind of current, but really sort of, really not quite yet firmed up projects are the two projects that we're working on that should be formalized with our contracts this summer, or actually hopefully a little bit before then. But we're working on an evaluation of a cliff effect pilot through a group called Springfield Works, which is part of the Economic Development Council in Western Mass. That is, though, funded through the legislature, and it will impact not just Springfield, but Worcester and Boston as well. So this is part of our long-term work and focus on the cliff effect that was really spearheaded by Professors Randy Albelda and Michael Carr. So we're excited to be continuing that work. Also looks like we're just about to, this hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but we've heard that we're going to be working on some HUD community planning and development technical assistance work, and that should start this summer. That's a partnership with another consulting firm who pulled us on. They wanted to work with UMass Boston as part of this federal grant, since we are a minority serving institution. So that was a good opportunity there. And then we're always looking to expand our work on offshore wind, workforce development, and equity related projects. And so will be, ongoing over the next year as well. And then just a few things on some of the challenges that we face. These have been some ongoing challenges, and you know, with the transition, I think that Director Adunya has done a fantastic job in managing that transition. But we still continue to have some challenges that have to do with, you know, having the limited capacity and staff and limited funding for you know, for our team. Both Francois and myself have to raise a portion or all of our salary in the case of Francois, and so that has been an ongoing challenge. And so, you know, just being able to continue to raise funds and write grants. Again, we have a very good team in ORSP, but we don't have a grant writer, and so, and since we are, you know, still need to do the work, it's difficult to actually do the fundraising and actually perform the tasks. And then once we actually get the awards, being able to manage the funds. Again, ORSP has been a great support. They are, as some of you might know, in some transition, and also some of the, transition that we've faced in the director for McCormick's office as well, has made this more challenging. However, we're looking forward to, getting additional support there. A few other challenges are related to hiring students and going through that process of successfully hiring and bringing on students, getting the confirmation, going through the EPAF process, working with the CBU on that. We do have that support, but it is difficult and often is delayed. And then related to that, just being able to manage and track those students, track their payroll, track their hours, and just, deal with any concerns that come up. For example, problems with getting paid or discrepancies in paychecks that do arise. And actually, we're dealing with one situation right now. And so, these are all things that can be challenging. But otherwise, we're really pleased with the work that we're doing. We appreciate all the support from everyone, many of you that are here, that allow us to do this very important community engaged work that's right in line with the UMass Boston strategic plan. So we are looking forward to a successful upcoming and future years. And
right on time, Susan.
That's great, since I didn't really practice. I'm glad that it I'm glad that it went through. So would love to take the questions.
Yeah, that's very good. That's right on time. Thank you very much. Just for the audience, I know some of the things that Center for Social Policy is working on. I don't claim to know everything, but I wanted to know everybody. I wanted to make sure that everybody get also familiar with the important things that the center is doing. And more importantly, the challenges they are facing. This is not only the challenge for Susan or the Center for Social Policy, as we may hear from there, and maybe there is similar challenge. So as you said, we cannot solve all the problems at once, but at least we want to make sure that we are aware of the challenges and also what important projects you are undertaking. So I don't take too much time. I'll open it for discussion. Anybody with any question for Susan, please raise your hand and you can ask. Michael.
Sure. Yeah, Michael. Oh, sorry, Adina, I should let you facilitate.
Yeah.
Presentation. Would it be possible for you to give us a sense of the size of CSP as compared to other centers and institutes you're familiar with on campus?
Sure, or I should say, I'll try. Do you mean financially or staff-wise?
Both.
So it's interesting that you asked this question, because it's a good example of the kind of question that's difficult for me to answer, like financially, especially since we've unfortunately, lost Michael and Charlotte, who were, supporting in the dean's office. I'm just going to throw out a guess right now that I think we're about 350,000. Again, that, I think we vary between maybe about 250 and $500,000, but honestly, Don't quote me on that. So I think I would leave it to Dunya and others to talk about our size. I do know need to sort of generally, as we compare, across other centers and institutes, in the campus, we're much smaller. And certainly from an allocation perspective, I think we get one of the lowest allocations have to raise the most amount of money, relatively speaking. ICI would be a self-funded center, but we are, again, looking at just going off previous data. I can't speak to the last few years. I don't know that I've seen the data, but we're definitely one of the smallest in terms of, and we do have, again, at a previous check of this, we have one of the highest return on investments in terms of the state money, in terms of how small we are and what we bring in. So, obviously I think we do a lot for our size. And so then I think that relates to the staff is that we are, much smaller. And I know that, some of the faculty-led centers, like what Darren's center might be smaller. I'm not sure, but like in terms of this centers that are led by clinical faculty or staff, such as myself, we're definitely on the smaller size. But we're small but mighty, doing a lot. Yeah, but I know I said this before, but I really, I truly mean it. Sometimes I do believe it's divinely inspired when, when working with folks like yourself, Professor Michael Johnson, just in terms of what you bring to the table and your expertise. And then there's always, again, students who step up in leadership roles. And I'll say it again, Amrith has been doing an incredible job for the Dorchester Food Cooperative. She's just got some fantastic skills in thinking about data and thinking about survey design, and is really leading those efforts. And then Meg has come along actually through the Center for Governance and Sustainability, and she brings an incredible wealth of experience, especially in thinking about this on the ground work we have to do. We're trying to get 200 surveys done on the ground in Somerville in 3 locations using our McCormick graduate students for the most part. And so Meg's just been fantastic in helping us figure out it's an operational challenge. So in any case, sometimes I wonder how things keep going and actually work, but then they always do. But it's as a result of the folks that are on the team.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Brad, do you have a question? Sorry if I say your name wrong.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, you were good. That actually was the correct pronunciation. Yeah. Somewhat of a naive question. Why was the decision made to move to the College for Liberal Arts? Like, it sounds like, you, Susan, you lost staff. And obviously there's been some transition pains, which always happens with institutional changes. But what was the reasoning for this? Maybe I'm obviously very late to the party, but just curious. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody here can answer that question. Not Susan, not me. This is a decision made. We all joined late after the decision has been made. So this is not the right group to ask this question. We may be involved in some of the discussion, but not the final decision. So I can't give you an answer. Or Susan, you want to say something to that effect?
No, I'll let you take this one. So
no, I think that's all I can say. Sorry. Any other question? Anybody else with more questions? Let's see our time, or maybe we have 2 minutes. Susan, can I ask you 2 more? As I said, we know how important your project is. And Michael asked a very important question because given the type of things you do in the center, you may be not as big or not sufficiently funded or adequately funded to do what you do. For example, the things you do in Dorchester Food Cooperative, in Somerville, the basic income and housing issues there. These are the things that local governments want to know the answer to because they have to make policy decisions. Speaking of these 2 projects, can you tell us, like, briefly how your research go into the policymaking process, how you communicate with them, and how do they take up your findings to make policy? Do you go there, present your work, or how does it go through to the policymaking process?
So I would say it's different for every project, and so it actually bringing up two good examples that are very different. And so with the Dorchester Food Cooperative, that they are local and they are more they're focused mostly at their own employment, with their own employer-based level, but in terms of they are really eager to gain insights from the evaluation process to share that with other cooperatives, and also to use that to seek additional they have been able to access some city funds, and they're interested in getting, I think, more philanthropic funds, and so they use this data and the information to be able to do that. And they want this, since cooperatives have tended to be historically been in areas that tend to be middle class, upper middle class, historically white areas, they're really hoping that this will be a model for, at a national level, and to be able to present that, for cooperatives nationally, which, the cooperative movement is growing. So that's how that would work there. The Somerville Basic Income Project is really interesting because there already is a, sort of a policy platform that's been created. And there is a group of cities, municipalities who have run these pilots. I think it's the mayor's group for basic income. And so we've been involved in communication with them. And what the city of Somerville hopes to do is to be able to use the data gathered from this, and then participate in conversations at a federal level, but also with other local communities such as Chelsea, Cambridge, and a few others that are in development in Massachusetts, and use that as data to influence policymaking at the state level.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're looking for, what we hope that the output from this research could do. Thanks, Susan. Thank you very much. This is very great. If you have more questions for Susan at the end of the second presentation, we may have some time, so you may ask her later. But now we have to move to the second presentation by Darren. Darren is the Executive Director of the Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development. This is one of the centers that does international affairs as well. Given Darren's background, he's directing this center. Darren, you want to take away?
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me, and congrats to Susan as well. That's just as always inspirational to hear about everything you're doing. So we are the practice side of the Department of Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance. So the center is a creature of the department, along with the Center for Governance and Sustainability. CGS focuses a bit more on environment and sort of UN issues. We focus obviously on peace, democracy, and development stuff, though there is some obvious overlap, and we work together where possible. I think the important thing to sort of remember about the center is that we're all part-timers in the center, in the sense that the faculty of the department are all fellows in the center as they wish, and they use the center to sort of lodge various projects that they've been working on over the years. The center was designed to try to help our faculty work together more, in addition to providing them field outlets for the work that they do, and in doing so, to provide students more opportunities for field experience, and then together as well to try to raise funds in order to bring more funding into the department and to the work that we do. So we have the faculty fellows. We also have a number of senior fellows who are not faculty directly in the department per se, but sometimes have teaching affiliation with us, or otherwise are simply just connected to the various projects that faculty and others have put together. And these senior fellows are typically expected to sort of raise their own funding for any sort of salary concerns that they have. And then lastly, we have student fellows in the center. And like other centers, we strongly encourage our students to come up with their own ideas. The idea being that the center is a place for them to test out ideas for projects that they may have, to kick the tires a little bit. I and others will help them fundraise for it, try to get it up to speed and so on. And that in turn has given launch to several NGOs of their own over the years. So the latest, for instance, was a student project working on refugees in the greater Boston area. And that led to the development of an organization that they call the MAP network, that's working with refugees all across the greater Boston area. So that's sort of a general example. At any given time, we have anywhere from sort of 5 to 10 faculty fellows engaged in various projects, as well as senior fellows in that mix, and then anywhere between 5 and 20 or 30 students engaged, depending on the natures of the project in question. So our general sort of philosophy is that we play a supporting role for other groups in the field. We always, wherever possible, try to work with local partners to support what they do. We show up with various peace and democracy tools and tool sets that we offer, and then in exchange we try to learn from them and what they do, and in doing so try to help them up their game. Part of those tools, we help them fundraise as well, and to work together towards the various goals of the different projects. I thought I'd give you 2 examples of current projects underway now that epitomize, I think what we do, and I'll give you a quick, look at some of where we're going, and then I'll end up with just a few thoughts about some of the challenges we face. The first project I want to mention that we're working on now is something called Democracy Network, or DemNet. This project is actually, even though I'm sort of the titular principal investigator for the project, it's really run by 5 of our PhD students who have really done a masterful job in bringing this together. I'm really sort of more the tour guide in much of this. It's a $500,000 grant that we got from the State Department, and working in 10 different African countries with election reform activists in those 10 countries. Africa, like the rest of the world, has seen democracies topple left, right, and center over recent years. This is an initiative to try to work with civil society activists to try to stem that tide as much as possible. And so what we do is we try to introduce these activists to new skill sets. And this is across the gamut, not only sort of election monitoring stuff, but we pride ourselves in sort of connecting democracy and peace building skills. So we teach them nonviolent social movement development. We teach them dialogue. We teach them a host of different things. And as I said, in turn, they teach us about what they've learned and how they do what they do. And we try to bring the network together so that these activists across these 10 different countries are working together, sharing information, trying to scratch each other's backs, so to speak. And we in turn try to connect them to larger networks at the UN system, some of the African regional organizations, and so on. We have 2 Nigerian NGO partners in the leadership working with us on this. The idea is that although we've been a little bit more in the leadership role in the beginning, is that our partners in Nigeria are really taking over the leadership and direction of the network more and more. But the network partners themselves from the 10 organizations are setting up a governance board that will really give sort of strategic direction for that. We're currently looking for sort of a round 2 funding with our Nigerian partners. We've got a few grant applications out there at the moment. The second project I just wanted to throw out there for you is a project that is working closely in cooperation with the Associate Director of MOPIC, Mads Polyhopatia. It was really his idea, and he brought the infrastructure to the center to do this. It's a Boston-based community early warning, early response system. Many folks may not be aware that we've had a massive increase in white supremacist and other militia activity across the Northeast. 2 summers ago, there was a neo-Nazi march down the center of Boston that caught politicians and other leaders completely off guard in many ways. That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's been happening. Mads, who has worked with me in Nigeria in developing an early warning system there, he developed an early warning system in Sri Lanka, where he's from as well. He said way back in 2020 that, look, we need to do this here in the United States, given what's happening. And he's been working with yet another team of our graduate students who, again, are really taking the leadership roles in running the network. It is designed to be it is already in existence, but it's going to be expanded as a hate crimes data platform. And the idea is that this data will then be put at the hands of civil society and government actors to try to get early action moving to try to sort of stem the tide of this growing sort of white supremacist militia activity across the nation. We're working with a larger network called the Trust Network that's trying to do some similar things in other parts of the United States. It's funded by a $400,000 Department of Justice grant that Mads and his team won. It's going to include trainings of civil society organizations, including religious groups and the police, on how to use the platform. We're also working with a local partner called Police to Peace that is going to train some of the local police forces on the prevention of hate crimes and engagement of at-risk communities with this stuff. We have another local partner called Essential Partners, which is a local dialogue organization, and they're going to be training community groups in dialogue on preventing hate crimes and extremism. So this is a really exciting project, and it's just getting off the ground. You know, there's a website where you can access some of this data, and that's going to be expanded. We have another partner that Mads is working with that's going to develop an app in order to try to make the reporting of this kind of hate crime data easier for civil society folks in the field. In order to make sure that that's going. And this model, of course, I'm eyeing it in terms of its transferability to other parts of the world once this is moved forward as it is. So those are two examples of some projects that we're doing in the future. I mean, of course, I want to continue and expand both of those projects. I've been doing a lot of work over the years in Nigeria, and I'm here in Northern Ireland right now doing some research on religious-based peacemakers. I'd like to continue some of that work both in Nigeria, Northern Ireland, and elsewhere. So I've got some plans in terms of trying to develop that initiative. In terms of challenges that we face, I mean, you're going to hear some echoes from what Susan said. I think maybe I should, start with where I started in my points, is to say, we're all part-timers in the center. So we face a constant sort of need for administrative support. The students, of course, their main job is being students, and they're supposed to be doing their dissertations and everything else that they're supposed to be writing. I do have my day job teaching classes and other things as well. So we often struggle in terms of trying to get full-time administrative support for the work of the center. We do, of course, write administrative support into the grants that we put out there. But as all or many of you know, is that it's very hard to put sort of permanent staff or permanent administrative support into grant applications. And so that means your administrative support is going feast to famine, depending upon what grants you have available. And so I think that's an issue. As an important part of this, and I see Lee is on the call. I mean, poor Lee and other staff in the department are often sort of gallantly stepping up to try to help us out. When I come begging for help and advice, but that's not in her job description. And so whenever I'm able to do that, that means that less time for her to focus on department stuff. So the administrative issue is a really important one we're trying to tackle. I want to shout out to Adunya and to Kiki. I think they've been giving us, and they've improved tremendously in recent years the support that we've been getting from the dean's office. They've also been tremendous in sort of trying to sort of knock ORSP into line in terms of trying to get them to step up and be more supportive, which ORSP has been much more supportive in recent years in helping us sort of locate and get those grants. So I want to thank Adunya and Kiki for that, and looking forward to that for continuing as we move forward. I think, though, that this also underscores another sort of thing that I'm sure, you know, Susan can comment on. Porg, I see you there. You can probably comment on this as well, is that we need a lot of help in terms of locating private donors. I think that's something that we've struggled with for years. I saw Vanessa on the line as well. I mean, I think Advancement has tried very hard to try to help us with this over the years, but they, of course, are overstretched too. And it takes a lot of research to try to identify, you know, that green, peace-loving billionaire that we're all looking for, to give us a big old grant. And we've scored some small hits over the years with some private donors that have been wonderful. I think, you know, I'd love to brainstorm a little bit more now with all of you on ways to do that. I mean, in the past, the college has had an advisory board, and that was, you know, a useful vehicle. We may want to think down those lines again in terms of, you know, is there something at the college level we can do in terms of trying to beef up our research ability to try to track down some of these angel donors, get them interested in the work that we do. And I think that's something that we can, you know, that we can sort of work together on. You know, I would be very happy to do a song and dance, you know, with some of the wonderful people we bring through in our center in order to help the work of Susan and Porg and others as well. You know, and in the same way, you know, we can share donors back and forth. So I think, you know, even though we're all going off in different directions, there are some important overlaps there. And I think we, you know, sort of trying to get some of those private donors and figure out who they are and sort of hook them in and get them interested in all the great stuff that we're doing is maybe some room for growth that we can all talk about. So those are a few things that are on my mind. Again, I want to thank Adunya and the dean's office for your support. And, you know, I see a lot of friends, and as I say, sort of victims of my various requests for help over the years that are on the call and who have been real stars in making, you know, sort of our successes happen. So thanks to all of you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you very much. This is very great. And thank you for the frank assessment of the challenges you face, and for making it clear and for everybody to understand. So the administration will know this, I'm sure, but we'll make sure that they reach it. But your suggestion about putting together an advisory board to make sure that we reach the donors that are interested in our job is also important. So we'll take a note of that. I just want to remind people that the full name of MGS is McCormack Graduate School for Policy and Global Studies. And these two centers demonstrate the full name of the McCormack School, because Susan's work on policy and Darren's center work on global studies, global issues, make a complete list of what we do and what our mission and values are in McCormack School. So thank you, Darren, again for the great presentation. Now I open the floor for any question for Darren or suggestion, comments. You're welcome to us.
Aaron,
Correct?
thank you for that as always. And you might mention that in collaboration with Multishare, we've been working for some years on the conflict in Cameroon. Overlap.
Absolutely.
An ongoing low level entity Cameroon involving English-speaking Anglophone, Francophone communities.
I'm sorry if it's me or my network, but I can't hear Porg's
you can't
questions.
Hear.
Yeah, sorry.
Just that he would good of the project that the center, your center, is involved in. You're involved in as well.
Sure. Do you want me to talk about that for a second, Porg? Okay, well, I should also first, I mean, I should shout out to Porg. Porg was instrumental at the launching of our center at the very start, 15 years ago. And we've cooperated on numerous other efforts over the years. So, as you might imagine, we have a lot of common interests. And Porg himself, for instance, just mentioned, most recently, he was approached to do some of the sort of dialogue work that he has done in Iraq and in other parts of the world in the what's considered the sort of northwestern part of Cameroon, which is the English-speaking part, that's seeing an independence movement fight there, and we've been trying to work with local civil society and government actors to foster a dialogue across those conflict divides. I've been helping a little bit in terms of, since it is located next to Nigeria, some of that conflict has bubbled over the border, and Nigeria has an interest in that. So we've been working together to try to spur global engagement of that into that conflict, and in doing so, bringing some of the expertise that Porg and others in our orbit working on this have been focusing on. Porg, would you like to say more about that?
No, just that I hope in fall to a conference at UMass, following up the conference we had in November of 2019. That got interrupted by COVID, and you'll play a very important role in that. Just giving you a forewarning of more work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Look forward to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Any more questions? We have time for one more question. Anyone?
I asked.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. Could you help us understand what level of support our centers and institutes can ordinarily expect from university administration? Is there a standard policy or guideline that our centers and institutes can depend on?
Others may want to chime in on this also. I wouldn't say, there are some basic supports that we can depend upon, but at the same time, we are strongly encouraged to be entrepreneurial and to carry a lot of the water ourselves. So, depending on what you're asking for. So, for instance, certainly ORSP is there once we decide we're going to apply for a grant, and in the whole grant process, they will be supportive there. In terms of locating those grants, they will connect you to various grant databases, but you really have to sort of find those yourself and to try to sort of to focus in on that. Once you know what you want to go for, they will then help you see it through, and then they'll also to some extent help to administer that. And that's where really, the Dean's office though is also again stepped up in terms of backstopping a lot of that sort of grant development, management, and support there as well. And again, as in encouraging ORSP to sort of step up on that side. But in terms of once you've got the grant, all of us have to sort of use the grant funds to try to hire our own staff to try to move it forward and to sort of do the actual work itself. Does that answer what you're wondering?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Adunya, you may want to pipe in too.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add to what Darren was saying. There are two things that we are waiting from the higher administration. One is, I'm not sure if you are familiar, this affects not only McCormack, but other centers in the university. There is a Council for Centers and Institutes constituted by the Provost Office, We're waiting for some guidelines. Michael, as you suggested, that some guidelines, some policy as to how centers and institutes are governed in the university. That we're waiting to. Then we follow up with our input, with what's coming out of the provost. Second, more specific, as Darren was mentioning, was the restructuring of the ORSP office. So there has been a lot of changes, and we've been told to wait until they finish the restructuring. And we see how that affects us, because McCormack, we have 6 centers here. I don't think there is any other college in the university with this many centers, and very active centers, in fact. I know there are centers here and there, but they're not as active. So we're affected significantly with whatever the provost office is bringing this out of, in terms of the restructuring of RSP or constituting this advisory board within the council for centers and institutes. So once we hear what the outcome, policy, and guideline from there, we'll have our own policy or our own resources to make sure that the centers function and do what they do best, which is doing research and impacting the policy and studies around it. So let's hope there is something soon, and then once that come out, and we'll follow up. Darren, you want to add?
Just that, yeah, and I just wanted to underscore that, you know, at least the provost has made very clear that it is a priority for him to try to improve our fundraising capacity. So I think, you know, although that's moving along slowly, I think it's something that's in the works. I think it reminded me of something else, you know, that as we're thinking about strategy building, I do think the president's office is also, you know, an undertapped resource that we may want to think about how we can sort of better, you know, better improve our interface there. I mean, I think, you know, certainly global engagement is a priority of the president's office. So, you know, once we have a better sense of our strategy, I think it'd be important for us to maybe bounce that off the president's office at some point and see, you know, see how we can we can better partner with his office too.
Yeah. Thank you, there. Ishaq, did I say your name right? You raise your hand. Do you have a question? Please go ahead. Ishaq Flix.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I came in and it's wonderful discussion having Darren back here and Podrek and some others that I've seen out there. It's nice meeting you all. And having heard all that Darren just spoke about, I just wanted to remind Darren to remember that in Africa, most times the attitude of our leaders and those in the offices that matters is a concern to the nation. And when projects like this are brought into the system, I think if you don't have good understanding, I think it will pollute it the more. That's just what I want to say.
No, thank you. Oh, sorry, thank you. Yes, I think that's a very important point. That's really why we have our local partners take the lead in all of these projects, and they are really the ones that sort of give us the strategic direction. You know, and when we, like, for grants like these, when we get grants like these, it's really even before we apply, we go with local partners and say, look, what do you think? Does this look like a good idea? And, you know, they really have the lion's share of the financing, and then, you know, we try to make sure that it is the groups on the ground that are saying, this is what we need, this is what we want to do. And then, you know, we follow what they say. It is a negotiation, of course, because, you know, we have our ideas as well, and we say, what about this? What about that? You know, so, but that's always a fascinating conversation. So, and I should mention that, you know, on that project itself, the 5 graduate students on our end that are leading it are all from Africa. So, you know, they bring their own experience from these movements. So I'm not exaggerating when I say I'm just the tour guide. They really have been the intellectual force behind this effort, and it's been wonderful to be a part of it. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you all for coming. I think Kiki came in just last minute, but thank you, Darren. Thank you, Suzanne. This is a very great, wonderful, informative presentation. I'm really happy for the discussion. Kiki just joined us. Kiki, you missed a lot. Thank you for coming. We had two presentations from Susan and Darren, and have been several times thanking you. So I just want to highlight that for your contribution to the centers. And they did a wonderful contribution, a wonderful discussion. This gives us an idea, in addition to the idea we have, to push forward with the mission, to push forward with additional resources, and to try to address some of the challenges that both of them mentioned, which we are already familiar, and both the transition and some changes in funding affected the centers, not only your centers, but also all other centers. But we're working on that in collaboration with the Provost Office to make this work. But thank you for your patience again as we go through the transition process. I think it is, we have 1 minute now to wrap this up. Anyone who wants to take the last word? Kiki, you want to say something? Or anyone else?
Oh, no, just hi, everyone. It's good to see everyone after such a long time. I'm sorry I was late. I thought this was beginning at 11, so I got my conflicts schedules going on. But, you know, hope we heard from the centers and institutes. Always, you know, great to hear from them. They're doing wonderful work, and you know, I'm sure that continues.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming again. We'll meet again with another round of the MGS centers seminar series next year with more centers. Thank you so much and have a good time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye.